Okay, so ready to dive into this whole 2023 Nigerian election thing.
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
It was a wild ride, right?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, everyone was watching so closely.
It felt like more than just an election.
Oh, for sure. This was about the future of Nigeria, a country with a history of, well, let's just say ups and downs.
It's putting it lightly.
Yeah, and after all those military coups in the past, the stakes for a peaceful transition, sky high.
And the fact that the incumbent president actually lost.
Unprecedented. I mean, that sent shockwaves through the entire country. It was like a real test for their democracy.
And that was just the backdrop.
Right. Like the stage was set for some serious drama.
Then you mouse the actual players and it's like, whoa, things just got real.
Because we're not talking about a bunch of politicians with the same ideas here. This was a real clash of personalities, parties, everything.
You had the APC with Tinubu.
Yeah, the All Progressives Congress. And Tinubu with this I've been there, done that kind of vibe.
Ex-governor, political kingmaker, the whole 9 yards.
Then on the other side, you've got Atiku Abubakar, representing the People's Democratic Party, the PDP.
Trying to bring his party back into power.
Exactly. He'd been vice president before, so a familiar face to many.
But then it wasn't just a two-man race either.
Not at all.
Yeah.
You had Peter Obi from the Labour Party coming in with that businessman perspective, and a lot of people found that appealing.
And let's not forget Rabiu Kwakwaso
Yeah.
from the NMPP.
The new Nigeria People's Party, right? Adding even more to the mix.
So on the surface, it looks like anyone's game.
It really does.
Yeah.
You see this diverse group of candidates, each with their own background, and you think, wow, this is going to be interesting.
But behind the scenes,
Things weren't so simple.
not at all.
Even before things officially kicked off, the two big parties, the APC and the PDP, they were dealing with some serious internal issues.
Like what?
Power struggles, disagreements on strategy, you name it.
Imagine trying to win a race when you're fighting with your own teammates.
Exactly. It's like they had to choose between putting out fires in their own backyard or focusing on the bigger picture, the presidency.
And that internal turmoil definitely played a role in how everything unfolded.
Absolutely. Especially for Tinubu and his journey to becoming the frontrunner for the APC.
So Tinubu, he manages to rise above all that inter-party drama, becomes the APC's guy. But his path to the top, it wasn't exactly a cakewalk, was it?
Oh, definitely not. There's this whole other side to him that's almost mystique.
Right, like he's nicknamed the Lion of Bourdillon.
Exactly. You don't get a name like that by being a shrinking violet.
Not at all. So he starts as a senator, works his way up to governor of Lagos State.
And from there becomes this major power player within the APC.
But then there's this whole drug trafficking thing from his past.
Right, the 1993 case in the U.S.
This is where things get a little murky for me, to be honest. It happened decades ago. There was money involved, but he was never actually charged with anything.
That's the thing. He forfeited funds as part of a settlement, but no actual charges were ever filed.
And he's always maintained he's innocent. But for someone who's maybe not super familiar with all the legal ins and outs, what are they supposed to make of that? It's like, okay, something happened, but not really.
Well, it's important to remember that legally speaking, asset forfeiture doesn't automatically equal guilt.
Okay, so it's not an admission of guilt.
Right, it can be a tool used in all sorts of investigations, and the reasons behind it can get complicated.
So we're left with these unanswered questions. And you have to wonder, how much did this case play a role in the election itself?
It's hard to say for sure what impact it had.
Did it tarnish his reputation with voters, or was it seen as too far in the past to matter?
Right, some people probably saw it as a black mark against him, while others might have thought, well, that was years ago, what about what he's promising now?
And how did his opponents use this information during the campaign?
It definitely came up.
Did they try to make it a central issue?
I mean, there was that 2015 documentary, The Lion of Bourdillon.
Which I remember caused a whole other stir.
It did. And Tinubu actually filed a libel suit against the producers.
Wow. So clearly this is a sensitive topic for him.
It seems to be something he's actively fought back against.
But did it really resonate with voters on a large scale?
Yeah,
Did it actually change anyone's mind about him?
that's debatable.
It makes you think, what matters more to people? A politician's past, or their policies, their actions, or their promises?
It's the age-old question, isn't it? And it's one that plays out in elections all over the world.
For sure. So we've got this cloud of controversy, but it's not the only thing at play. There's the whole economic situation in Nigeria,
Yeah.
the security concerns, all the everyday issues people are dealing with.
Absolutely, and those are major factors.
So going beyond the controversy, what did Tinubu actually offer voters? What was his platform all about? So he's running on this platform trying to address these issues. And what happens?
Well, Tinubu wins. He
He-
becomes the president of Nigeria.
But it wasn't a landslide or anything, was it?
Not exactly. It was actually pretty close.
Which tells you something, right? Even with everything we talked about, his experiences influence within the party.
It wasn't a sure thing, and there was a lot of support for other candidates, especially Peter Obi from the Labour Party.
Why do you think that was? What was it about Obi that resonated with people?
I think a lot of voters, especially younger Nigerians, saw him as a real alternative.
A break from the status quo.
Exactly. They wanted something different, someone who seemed to represent a departure from the old way of doing things.
So Tinubu comes into office facing all these challenges.
Yeah.
A tough economy, corruption, security threats.
It's a huge undertaking for anyone.
And he's got his own past following him, too.
Right. All those controversies we talked about, they don't just disappear overnight.
It's a lot to handle. What would a successful presidency even look like at this point?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer.
For sure.
It's going to take more than just political maneuvering this time. He's going to have to bring people together, actually address these huge issues.
And show that he can govern effectively.
Exactly. It's about earning the trust of all Nigerians, not just the ones who voted for him.
It's interesting, though, because we've been talking about Tinubu's past his campaign, all the challenges he faces. But I've also seen articles saying he's already the favorite for 2027.
Isn't that wild? Like, he hasn't even finished a year in office.
I know, it's crazy. But that's politics for you, I guess. Always looking ahead to the next election.
It does make you wonder, though. In a place as unpredictable as Nigeria, is it even possible to predict what will happen in the next election, let alone the one after that?
Good point. So where does that leave us? What's the takeaway from all of this?
I think it's important to remember that leadership isn't just about one person.
Right.
It's about the context they operate in the country's history, the current challenges, the hopes and concerns of the people.
It's bigger than just one person.
Exactly. So to really understand where Nigeria goes from here, we need to look beyond just Tinubu and try to understand all the forces shaping the country's future.
That's a really good point. It's a reminder that things are complicated and there are no easy answers. But that's what makes these deep dives so interesting, right?
Yeah.
Getting into the nuances, exploring all the angles.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for breaking it all down with me today. It's been enlightening.
My pleasure. Always enjoy a good deep dive.
And for everyone listening, thanks for joining us. We'll be back next time with another deep dive into a topic that matters. Until then, stay curious.